Christ my Saviour, live in me from day to day. By his blood and power controlling all I do and
Welcome,
say.
everyone. Welcome to the 13th service of Alila Ministry, where our faith is rooted in God, our divine creator. I'm minister, teacher, student, and servant, Andrea Grace. And so thank you for joining with me today. It's been a few weeks since our last service. The last service I did was before I went to Russia. I was there for 3 weeks. It was fantastic. I saw a lot. I experienced a lot. It was mystical and beautiful and amazing. And so since I got back, I have been quite busy with classes and seeing folks one-on-one. But at the same time, there's also been this pressure to do another Sunday service. And so here we are. And I thought that we might start today's service with the Desiderata. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's a poem by an American poet, and there's some misunderstandings around it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for our part, let us just start to bring our attention to the unconditional love and support that's here. The support that is the furniture that you're sitting on, that you're using, the floor, Mother Earth herself, who supports this life, who gives us everything that we need to physically exist. She's also supported the lives of our ancestors as well. And so our very existence is reliant on her unconditional love and support. And that's really where, if we're wondering what unconditional love and support looks like, we don't have far to look. So for our part, just start to relax into that support by letting your sit bones and your tailbone root down into the furniture, towards the floor, towards Mother Earth, just sinking into it. And then from here, just lift from the heart, let the shoulders fall away from the ears. The shoulders have no business being anywhere near the ears, but in the busyness of our day, the shoulders can start to creep up towards the ears. So we don't want that. And then the elbows can hang. And if you like, you can bring your hands together into the prayer position. And if you'd like to listen in a quiet, mindful way, which I recommend, you can let your eyes become soft. Let your eyelids rest over your eyes. Gently bow the head as you surrender the I know mind to the wisdom of the open heart. And I'll go ahead and bring up the Desiderata so that you can hear it. I have a copy of it here, just right by the door. So the Desiderata was written by the American poet Max Ehrman in 1927. This is our prayer. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for In the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it's as perennial as the grass. Take kindly to the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You're a child of the universe no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Let's bring our mission top of mind. Our mission is to provide a safe and supportive space for individuals seeking holistic healing and spiritual guidance grounded in our faith in God. We believe that true healing comes from a connection to the divine and the recognition of the inherent divinity within each individual. We seek to honor the body, mind, and spirit connection through natural healing methods aligned with God's design for the human body. We strive to empower individuals to take an active role in their own healing process by providing guidance and support that's rooted in spiritual principles. And we aim to create an environment that fosters compassion, connection, and growth. Through our work, we hope to inspire others to deepen their faith in God and discover the transformative power of spiritual healing. Such a beautiful centering piece. It's really calling us to expand our awareness to that which is greater than ourselves, while also acknowledging our unique part, and then giving us clear guidance on how to navigate the different characters and happenings of everyday life as we experience it. So, as I said, it was written in 1927, but the copy that I have here, it actually says, written on the bottom of it, it says, found in Old St. Paul's Church, dated 1692. And so then I found an article that explained that what happened was that there was a Reverend Frederick Ward Cates who was the rector of Old St. Paul's from the years 1956 to 1961. And he would put together a little booklet, a devotional booklet that included the Desiderata in it. So this article says that the cover of the booklet carried the name of the church and the date of the parish, the date the parish was founded. So it said on the cover, Old St. Paul's Church, Baltimore, 1692. And so perhaps just innocently, a parishioner who was inspired by the work then reproduced it, had it professionally reproduced, and then assigned it to the church, gave the church credit. So it felt good to get to the bottom of that. But it's a beautiful work, and especially that there's this fun irony to it, right? Because that misunderstanding that the work came from 1692 instead of 1927, because embedded in there is exercise caution, for the world is full of trickery. That's fun. So in light of this, I've had already an interesting week. On Monday, as I was leaving here, I was endeavoring to make a left-hand turn, and for some reason the driver behind me I guess I was taking too long for the turn, and they looked ahead and they saw that there were no cars coming on the left-hand lane. And so got it in their minds to overtake me on the left-hand side, even though it was a double yellow line. So when I went to make my left, I smashed into her, basically. So just as I was preparing to do my service here, I heard news that the insurance company wants to write off my car. That's one of the options that they're giving me because the repairs, as they see it, exceed the value of the car. And it was an interesting occurrence because nothing happened inside of me at the time. It wasn't a very big jolt. It was in on Monday. I was leaving here after a full day and heading to a friend's place, and I saw that there was traffic further along my route. For some reason, I had my map on, which is unusual because I know where I'm going, but I don't know, for some reason I had my map on and I saw that there was traffic up ahead. So I thought, okay, I'm going to change my route. So I went to make a left-hand turn to into the next street. I overshot the street, and then I was looking to see if I could make it the next left-hand turn, which was into a park. And I wasn't sure whether that driveway into the park was a one-way or whether it was a two-way. So I was paused there, just looking to see whether I could make the left-hand turn there or whether I had to go further up to make the left-hand turn. And so there was some indecision. So I was hesitating, and I don't know what the driver behind me was thinking, but she decided to pass me on the left-hand side. So she crossed over the yellow lines. It was a double yellow line road because it was a county road. And so I didn't see her because I was busy looking to see if it was a one way or not. So I was looking over there. And then when I saw that it was a two-way street. So when I went to make my left-hand turn, it was into this car that I went. And so it caused damage to my car. The woman pulled over. So my car now is in the middle of the street. There was some debris off of her car, actually. And then it became apparent that my wheel had been damaged, and so it wasn't easy for me to get my car to the side of the road. And so then it transpired that my car needed a tow truck as well, even though the cosmetic damage didn't seem to be too obvious, but the wheel was facing in the wrong direction. So all of this is happening. And so while the tow truck came, I happened to glance over back at the street. I might have even actually been talking to the police officer. I can't remember. Isn't memory a strange thing? It's a fallible thing. Memory cannot be relied upon. So I happened to look back to the street that I was intending to make the left-hand turn into, and then I see this cute, familiar face. And in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, is that Kelly? And but then I had the auto shop in one ear, and then the tow truck was coming, the police were around. So when it was all said and done, I headed back to the little tow yard where they put both the vehicles. I headed back in the tow truck with the fellow, and then I get a text from Kelly saying, oh, I saw that you were getting a tow. Is everything okay? So I'd already spoken to the insurance company, and they said that there was, a rental was included. So I was organizing that with them. And so when she texted, I said, well, actually, it would be a wonderful help to get a lift down to the rental shop. And we're now heading towards the end of the day because it was later in the afternoon when all of this transpired. It was like 3 o'clock or so, 3:30. And so then she said, okay, well, I can get there around about 5. It was around 5 o'clock by now. But then the guys from the shop on which this tow yard was. It was the backyard of a petrol station, a service station. They said, "Oh, we're closing, ma'am. Can I have the keys to your car?" So then I was just about to call Kelly back and say, I think I need to take an Uber actually because they're closing. She called me and said, or texted me and said, "I'll be right there. My husband came home early." And so I can take you. And so what I'm getting at, I'm telling you this story to say that an unwanted, unexpected, unpleasant occurrence took place. However, there was beautiful flow at the same time. And so it was lovely catching up with Kelly. We had a nice chat on the way down to the rental place down on Route 22 there. And then there I bump into a woman who I knew from, I don't know, gosh, 10 years ago or so. And so we got to say hello. And so there was some familiarity. And I thought, gosh, this is also very interesting. So I secured my rental, which is this bright red Mustang, which is hilarious. This is brand new to me. I've never had an accident before. I've never had I mean, when I first moved to the United States, and I had no experience with snow, and I had this cute little red cabriolet, and it was a snow day. I thought I was teaching at Rutgers at the time, and I thought that there was that they would call a snow day, and they didn't. So then I was running late, and then I spun my car out on that day. But I can attribute that to lack of experience with the snow and being out of my body by rushing. But since then, I have not had. Oh, actually, also when I was separating, though, I did run my car over a Belgian block divider because I was also out of my mind and out of my body. But okay, since those two incidences, I have not had an accident. So this is all a new process to me. So if you've had this kind of experience, please share if you want, if you like, in the comments, because I'm always learning how to do householdery type things. So there we are. So that's interesting. So we'll see what happens out of that. But I will say, I think that when these things happen, when the unwanted, the unexpected, the unpleasant occur, it's our job to remain at peace, to find a way to remain at peace. So one of the spiritual questions that we can ask ourselves to turn our emotional state around is, how can I see peace instead of this? So just to remind you that the emotions, the stressful emotions that occur, that in the face of the unwanted, the unexpected, and the unpleasant are understandable, of course, and appropriate. However, in the applied path of self-mastery, there is the possibility that I want to convey that you can have these experiences without losing your center, without losing your peace. However, those stressful emotions are an alarm clock to remind us that we have just left peace. And so, how can we get back to peace? When we go deeper into the stressful emotions, what that actually does is disconnects us from the expanded level of consciousness that is there ready, who has the answers, so is there ready to provide us with a solution. So one way to calm ourselves down is through the breath. Oftentimes when we're stressed, the breath gets very high in the body. And so again, it's understandable. The nervous system gets stimulated and goes into the fight, flight response, freeze response. So our job is to help the nervous system to calm down. And so one way to do that is to just simply hold your fingers. Another way is to mentally place your attention on the unconditional love and support that still hasn't left you. So even though I was in my car and this unexpected, unwanted, and unpleasant occurrence took place, I still couldn't unknow that Mother Earth was still here supporting me and holding me, and nothing really had happened actually. Now, actually, I'm just reminded now too that later that evening, Monday evening, as I was lying in bed, I received an image, a visual, as I was, starting to fall asleep and consciousness expands, right? So what happens is the brain waves slow down, and they slow down from beta, which is our everyday consciousness, where we're planning and categorizing and analyzing, and communicating, and that's our everyday level of consciousness, beta consciousness. And when we're endeavoring to go to sleep, the brain waves start to slow down, and they slow down into alpha. And it's in alpha that images and symbols can come into play. If we're doing some kind of self-treatment as we're going to bed, then the alpha brainwave state can also occur as a result of that intense focus. So in that state, as my brainwave states were starting to slow down, alpha brings in also images and pictures and sounds and color. And it's really in theta that we receive the full knowing. So I know that my brainwave state was in alpha, and I received this image of being sideswiped. Now, this isn't the first time that I have had that visual. When I have asked, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, but when I have asked to be shown what my exit strategy is for this life, I've been shown a car accident, basically, where I'm hit from the side. And so it was interesting to see this vision again. And the next stream of thoughts that came after that was, oh, this was to replace that experience. And so I thought to myself, oh, have I just extended my contract here to continue on? And that, the experience was just downgraded into this one. And at the same time, my car is a 2009. I've had it since 2011. So we'll see. But I don't know about you. In this current climate, I am not about payments. So what I loved about my car is that I owned it outright. And so sure, I had repairs, I had maintenance, things go wrong, but then you just take that in your stride, because it's still better than the car payment. I don't know. Please, you share how you feel about this. Our cars are a funny thing, right? They're like an extension of who we are. I literally cannot imagine being in a different car. It's like you're out of skin in a way, right? Because in our culture, we spend so much time in it, and it becomes part of our personality. And I know that energetically, I've been able to recharge batteries in my car. I think my alchemy and my car's alchemy have fused. So yeah, it feels strange that she's in a shop that I'm not familiar with. And anyway, do you think I'm crazy? And so the next morning, I had a quantum healing hypnosis session scheduled. And the quantum healing hypnosis sessions are an opportunity to explore past lives. It could be future lives. It could be exploring your soul's lineage. And so the invitation is to come with a series of questions, areas in your life where you don't have clarity or you don't have 100% peace. We usually go through childhood experiences and experiences that contributed to them being in the room, just to make sure that we cover everything, because really those sessions are an opportunity to bring healing to the past. And so everything that we experience as emotional turbulence or physical pain, discomfort, conditions, dis-ease, anywhere we don't have ease, It's always got its tenets in the past. And all pain, all of our discomfort, our emotions also, are only ever always in the past, in the very recent past, because as soon as we have cognition about what we're feeling or what we're feeling, it's already over. And so pain can only ever exist in the past, because when we have our full attention on the now moment, and that we have relaxed and expanded into the truth of this now moment, which is the unconditional love and support that's here, when that is fully embodied, there is no pain. So consciousness can expand beyond the pain. So the body exists, the emotions exist within conscious awareness. However, conscious awareness has expanded beyond that. And so there is no pain. So the questions that the quantum healing hypnosis can help with is anywhere in our lives where we don't have 100% peace, where we still have emotional, stressful residue about certain happenings or relationships or childhood experiences. And then also, as I said, anything that's going on in the body. So she came with her list, and then she came into the scene, and she was actually a male character, and her role was an observer. We actually found her on a ship, like a spaceship. And there was collective consciousness in this experience. And so the others on the ship were able to connect with her wordlessly, soundlessly, to meld with her consciousness and be able to see and observe what she was seeing and observing. But she was the conduit for that function. So there's steps to the process, but when we also first started to begin getting her into that beautiful state of expanded consciousness, we do use the imagination as the bridge. And so when I asked her to use her imagination as the bridge, she was on a mountain looking down over everything. So what we found as we were going through this whole experience, that there was this theme of being up high and looking out over everything. And so when we got to the point, so in the quantum healing hypnosis, we always ask to see the last day of this life that we're looking at and seeing, and then we explore what happens on this last day to then be able to transition into that expanded state of consciousness, which is the part of the mind that holds all of the stories, including this one here. And it's to that part of our consciousness, what I call the infinite wisdom. Dolores Cannon used to call it the subconscious, and maybe her students continue to call it the subconscious, but through my own path, the best label that I can give it is the infinite wisdom. Sometimes too, we can also call it the deep down wisdom, because it's not like it's ever separate from us. The answers are always right here. It's just a matter of, are we looking in the right direction? Are we listening? Are we still enough to be honest about these deeper truths? So we can also call it our deep down wisdom as well. So when we connected with the infinite wisdom, her infinite wisdom, which is all of our infinite wisdom, it's where we are connected through collective consciousness, I asked, so what was the purpose of these themes? And so the wisdom that was offered, and it was the answer pretty much to every one of her questions, the answer was to rise above it. And so this is the theme that I would like to explore for the rest of the service, which is why it's been an interesting week, because I've also been given an opportunity to rise above it. And, it's just so interesting that we just have it, even me saying it to you, you understand what I'm saying, what I'm pointing to, right? Because we have this expression in our language. It's inherent in our language. So for right now, though, I think it's time to pass the basket. So let's go ahead and do that. So I just want to thank everyone who has contributed to supporting the good work that we do here at the Delilah Ministry. I'm so grateful for that. So contributions can be made by check, if you like. You can make it out to a Lila Ministry, and the address is 430 Springfield Avenue, Suite 209 in Berkeley Heights. The zip code there is 07922. Or you can use Zelle or PayPal. You can use the number, Alila Ministry, or you can use PayPal with the QR code there. So thank you for that. So let's take a little break and you can enjoy the music, and then we'll come back and we'll do a deeper exploration and how to apply it to our lives on rising above.
May the peace of God, my Father, rule my life in everything, that I may become to comfort the sick and sorrowing. And may the love of Jesus fill me as the waters fill the sea, Him exalting and self-abasing, this is victory.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to our service. So we're going to be talking about rising above it, right? So the Desiderata really teaches us and gives us beautiful language to do that. Because, for instance, it's asking us from the get-go to go placidly amid the noise and the haste and remember what peace there may be in silence. And that is one of the most profound teachings, that it is in the silence that we find the peace in amongst the haste, the noise, and the chaos. We can find that the wisdom being conveyed in the Desideratas is an echo of what we can find in the New Testament. For example, we can find in Philippians 4, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus, which is in the light, the pure light. And so it's here that we're being called to, instead of reveling in anxiety and worry, but rather be grateful, right? To greet every situation with thanksgiving, and then to hand it over to God. And so when we hand something over to God, we need to extend our minds to include God, which is how we rise above the current situation of the everyday minutia, because it's the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, which is what our minds are doing. The personality mind is just seeking to put things into perspective to basically get control. And the human mind feels better when it has control. So when the unexpected, the unwanted, and the unpleasant things happen, we lose control. And that's what steals our peace. It's really just this the experience of not being in control that causes the chaos for us, actually. So we're given these beautiful instructions here. And the Desiderata also reminds us, and whether or not it's clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. And so here we're getting reminded that there's the personality which gets sidetracked, confused, usurped, chagrined, that actually there's this greater truth that everything's happening exactly as it should be and everything's happening exactly in the right timing. And this echoes what we can find in the New Testament, for example, in Matthew 6, there's a whole section on worry, starting with 25. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you'll wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And then it goes on, and then we have 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And so then there is this very succinct reminder in John 14 as Jesus comforts his disciples, Jesus being the way to the Father, and then Jesus promises the Holy Spirit. So it's a really beautiful passage. However, let's just hone in on this part right here. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. So he says, I do not give to you as the world gives, because what he gives is beyond the world, it transcends the world. And so this concept of rising above is being able to move our attention away from the density and the detail, the mundanity of everything that is occurring in the everyday life. And so perhaps a helpful analogy in terms of what it is to rise above would be like comparing points of view of the natural world. So, for example, the point of view of a worm is a very different point of view to the squirrel or the chipmunk, who has a different point of view to the deer or a horse, who has a different point of view to the hawk or the eagle. And so it's pointing us to the gift that's been bestowed upon us, which is the gift of attention. Because I say all the time, the Eastern arts say that where our attention goes, energy flows. And where our energy flows, our biology goes. And this is true. It's a truthful phenomena. And so it's almost like it's our responsibility actually to be able to harness the periscope of our attention. And that really is the entry point to self-mastery. Once we have mastered the ability to be able to control or choose where we put our attention. And if we put our attention on that which does not give us peace, then it's up to us to use those feeling states as the alarm clock to guide us back to, okay, what do I need to put my attention on that will give us peace? That is a more peaceful feeling thought. Because as we use the gift of the periscope of our attention to focus on that which brings in more peace, that is the conditions through which that the infinite creator can whisper wisdoms to us, can whisper the solutions to us. But if we're so busy panicking and worrying and complaining and being angry and self-righteous, or even jealous or greedy, then we're clogging up our divine vessel with energetic debris, which makes it so much more difficult for God to communicate to us and for us to be in communication with Him. And so we find these wisdoms not only there for us to find in the Old Testament, but if you're following the Eastern path, you can find them echoed in the Tao Te Ching, for example. And I have referenced the Tao Te Ching in previous services. You can look it up to get a context for it. But for our part, because it ties all the themes together, we're going to look at verse 8. And the specific translation that I'm looking at is by Stephen Mitchell, who, if you know Byron Katie, is her husband. And so let's look. The supreme good, the highest good, right? The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It's content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it's like the Tao. The Tao is the middle way. All right, and then now we're given a prescription. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you're content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. And so doesn't this sound like just another way of espousing these beautiful prescriptive truths that are pointing us to the deeper truth of who and what we are? Because again, in the Desiderata, there's also the reference, I'm just going to springboard into it, there's also the reference to comparison. All right, it's right at the top. So if you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Okay. So what would that be like to be ourselves without comparisons? Comparisons are only ever a pathway to pain. Comparisons, as Byron Katie says, are never peaceful. So take a moment. Who would I be? Simply myself, content, without the desire, without the need to compare, but just to simply stay in your own lane. And so when we are present, when we're truly present, and we're living through the natural primordial pace, our natural pace, we create the perfect environment to receive God's inspired thoughts for us. Those thoughts are the thoughts that we take action on. And when we live our lives in such a way, then we know what it is to be in the flow. All right, and so we'll finish up by looking at the Upanishads, an example where it's just these themes are repeated. That's all I'm pointing out to you. All right, so let's look at an excerpt out of the Katha Upanishad. And it says, the wise one, having known the self, with a capital S, meditates on that pure, immortal, fearless self. Having risen above desires, he is free from sorrow and is ever blissful. And so the rising above is energetic, but like I said, it can only become energetic when we begin with the periscope of our attention. Because where our attention goes, the energy flows, and where our energy flows, our biology goes. And so how do we start to use the periscope of our attention to pull ourselves out of the muck and the mire, the unwanted, the unexpected, the unpleasant, the things that we complain about to our friends, to our family, the things that we feel hopeless about? Well, we can use the gift of imagination as the bridge. And so that was the simple prescription that came through the quantum healing hypnosis session, which was to see herself sitting somewhere high. So it could be on top of a mountain, or um, sitting on a cloud looking down over everything, or even sitting on a tall building, standing on a tall building looking out over everything. And what's interesting is that just naturally, that's one of the practices that I do in my one-on-one sessions to help people get that shift in their perception. We can also invite in the pure light of unconditional love, or the pure light of truth, which you can use your imagination to see the pure light of unconditional love, the pure resonance of truth as a figure, as a form, or as pure light. And so even with your eyes open, you can start to bring this to mind. That is you harnessing the gift of your imagination. And so you can see yourself, you can consider something in your life right now where it's a problem, or where you don't have 100% clarity, or you don't have 100% peace. And then you can just see yourself floating um, up to a cloud to sit on it and look down over everything, or you could see yourself floating up into the ceiling and you can look down on it, or you could see yourself sitting on top of a mountain looking down over everything. And then you invite the holy light as a form, as a figure, an angelic figure, or a personal guide to join you there. There, the Holy Spirit, God himself, Christ himself, to sit with you, or Lao Tzu, if you like, whomever. It's just the way. It's just the way that you can expand your own personal consciousness beyond the personal into that which is beyond the self, on that which is the immortal, the eternal part of the self, and that is the part of the consciousness that knows your whole story, and doesn't take the minutia happenings personally. And so as you're sitting on top of that mountain, as you've invited in the holy light of pure peace, the holy light of love, you can just hand over your pain, your stress, your confusion, your anxiety, your fear, your worry. You can just hand it over, place it at their feet or in their hands. And then you can get very still inside. Just let things just start to settle down, just enjoying the presence, just using your imagination to fill your mind. And then asking the question, so how can I see peace instead of this? How can I see peace instead of this? How can I see peace instead of this? How can I see peace? Peace instead of this. And when we get very still, we can receive guidance, and it can come as a full knowing. It's almost as though we just, like, it bubbles up, or it just comes in. It's this full knowing. You might hear language. And if you feel that this kind of practice is difficult for you, that's where I can help guide you and essentially hold your hand through that kind of process to receive the answers, because peace is only ever a thought away. And this world is beautiful and it's abundant. And that's where we can coax our minds away from its wanderings and then focus on the deeper truths that are here, that you are unconditionally loved and supported in this moment, that the earth is holding you in just the right amount, that you have plenty of air to breathe, you've got food to eat if you need to, people to hug if you need to, people to talk to if you need to, that everything you need actually is here in this moment. And we're never disconnected from all that is, from nature, from each other, from the infinite mind in which all of this exists, the God mind, the Godhead. All right, so to this, I think this will conclude our 13th Sunday service. So thank you for journeying with me today. I appreciate it. I love you so much. And if you do need some support with shifting your perception from upset, from fear, from doubt and worry to peace, I'm happy to help you with that. And also check the calendar for the upcoming classes that you can join either in person or virtually via Zoom, because there are regular meditation and natural healing self-help classes. And then there are also just straight point of focus meditation classes as well that you can join. And so I also always recommend that if you are feeling a lot of emotions, energy in motion moving through you, trying to rise up actually, then my invitation as a practitioner, as an energy and light touch practitioner, is to lay your hands where you feel that and breathe and bring more love there. All right, wonderful. So enjoy the rest of your restful day, and I look forward to talking with you next time.